Right after she gave birth, her billionaire husband whispered, "I wish I never married you." The sterile hospital room smelled of antiseptic and broken promises. Magdalena's hands trembled as she held her newborn daughter for the first time, tears streaming down her exhausted face. But they weren't tears of joy. They were tears of pure, unadulterated rage. Because 30 seconds ago, her billionaire husband had leaned close to her ear, his breath hot against her skin, and whispered 5 words that would destroy everything. "I wish I never married you." He thought those words would break her. He had no idea they would be his last mistake. Before we dive into this explosive story, I want to know, where are you watching from? Drop your city and country in the comments below. And if you're ready for a story about betrayal and the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen, smash that subscribe button right now. Trust me, what happens next will blow your mind. Now, let's go back to where it all began. Magdalena Reyes was 28 when she met Logan Hartwell, and she wasn't looking for love. She was a financial analyst from Austin, Texas, working 18-hour days to build her career. Her father had abandoned her mother when Magdalena was 10, leaving them with nothing. She'd watched her mother struggle, beg, and break. Magdalena swore she'd never need a man for anything. Then Logan walked into that conference room. He was everything, brilliant, powerful, and worth $8 billion. But what made her heart stop wasn't the private jet or the penthouse. It was the way he looked at her during her presentation, like she was the smartest person he'd ever met. After the meeting, he waited by her car. "Dinner?" he asked. "I don't date clients," she said. "Then I'll fire my company as your client." He smiled. Problem solved. Their first date lasted 12 hours. They talked about everything: her dreams, his fears, the businesses they wanted to build. When he kissed her goodnight, Magdalena felt something she'd never felt before: safety. 3 months in, Logan took her to his childhood home in Montana. They sat by a fire, and he told her about his father, a cruel man who'd measured love in dollar signs. "I never want to be like him," Logan said, squeezing her hand. "I want to build something real, with someone who sees me, not my money." Magdalena's voice was soft. "I see you, Logan." He proposed that night under a sky full of stars. But what she discovered 3 years later would make her question if she'd ever known him at all. The wedding was small, just close friends and family. Magdalena wore a simple dress. Logan cried when she walked down the aisle. "You're the best thing that ever happened to me," he whispered as they danced. She believed him. The first year was perfect. Logan supported her dreams, celebrated her wins, held her through her losses. When she wanted to start her own consulting firm, he was her biggest cheerleader. "Do it," he said. "You don't need my money or my connections. You're brilliant enough on your own." She launched her firm. Within 8 months, she had 12 major clients. Logan threw her a celebration party, stood up in front of everyone, and said, "This woman right here, she's going to change the world." Magdalena had never felt more loved. But during the second year, something shifted. It started with phone calls that Logan would take in another room, late nights at the office, business trips that stretched longer than necessary, and his assistant, Nicole Horton, a woman with ice in her veins and calculation in her eyes, suddenly everywhere. "Nicole's been with me 10 years, Logan said when Magdalena asked. "She practically runs the company." One night, Magdalena found a receipt in Logan's suit pocket. A hotel in Miami. The same weekend he'd said he was in Chicago for a conference. When she asked him about it, he'd exploded. "Are you seriously accusing me of cheating? After everything I've given you?" It was the first time he'd ever yelled at her. Magdalena apologized, hating herself for it. But she tucked that receipt away, just in case. Then she got pregnant. The test was positive on a Tuesday morning. Magdalena was terrified and thrilled. She'd planned an entire surprise: dinner, candles, a tiny pair of baby shoes. Logan came home at midnight, smelling of perfume that wasn't hers. She showed him the test anyway. He stared at it for a full minute. Then he said, "Are you sure you want to keep it?" Magdalena's blood ran cold. "This is our baby." "I know. I just..." Now's not a good time. When would be a good time, Logan? He didn't answer. He just walked to his office and closed the door. That's when Magdalena knew. Something was very, very wrong. The next 9 months were the loneliest of Magdalena's life. Logan missed doctor's appointments, forgot to ask how she was feeling, spent entire weekends at the office. Magdalena threw herself into work, taking client calls between morning sickness and exhaustion. Her mentor, a brilliant woman named Reese Thompson, noticed. "Something's wrong," Reese said over coffee. "Talk to me." Magdalena broke. She told her everything, the distance, the perfume, the coldness. Reese's eyes hardened. "Listen to me carefully. Document everything. Every receipt, every late night, every suspicious phone call. I pray I'm wrong, but if I'm not, you need to be ready." Ready for what? War. Magdalena didn't understand then, but she started keeping records. And when she went into labor 3 weeks early, Logan wasn't there. He was on a business trip to the Bahamas, a trip she later learned Nicole had also been on. 18 hours of labor, complications, emergency surgery, moments where Magdalena thought she might die. When Logan finally showed up, 6 hours after their daughter was born, he didn't rush to her side. He stood in the doorway, staring at the baby like she was a problem to solve. Then he walked over, leaned close, and whispered those 5 words that changed everything. "I wish I never married you." Magdalena's exhausted mind went crystal clear. She looked down at her daughter, innocent, perfect, depending on her for everything. And she made a decision. If you're still watching this, type, "I'm still here" in the comments. And just wait until you hear what she does next. It's absolutely savage. From her hospital bed, Magdalena made 2 phone calls. The first was to Mike Torres, a forensic accountant she'd worked with before. "Mike, I need you to investigate my husband. Everything. Bank accounts, properties, businesses. Can you do it quietly?" "How quietly?" "Invisible. Consider it done." The second call was to a divorce attorney named Lincoln Hayes, the most ruthless lawyer in New York. "Lincoln, I need to destroy my husband. Tell me everything." She did. When she finished, Lincoln was quiet for a moment. Then, "Pack copies of everything you have. Hide them somewhere he can't find them. And Magdalena, don't let him know you know anything. Not yet. When we have enough to bury him." Magdalena spent 4 days in the hospital. Logan visited once for 15 minutes. He didn't hold their daughter, didn't ask how Magdalena was feeling, just checked his phone and left. But what she discovered next shocked her to her core. On her second night in the hospital, a nurse named Clara came in during the night shift. She hesitated, then closed the door. "Mrs. Hartwell, I don't know if I should tell you this." "Tell me what?" "Your husband was here last week. With another woman. They were looking at the maternity ward talking about—" "I'm so sorry. I heard him say, after the baby's born, I'll file for divorce. The prenup is airtight." Magdalena's heart stopped. "Are you sure?" Clara nodded. "The woman with him, tall, blonde, designer everything?" "Nicole," she said, finally. "I'm tired of hiding. Mrs. Hartwell, I have teenagers. If my husband did that to me, I'd want to know." After Clara left, Magdalena called Mike back. "Change of plans. I need everything within 2 weeks. I don't care what it costs." "Magda, that's—" "He was planning to divorce me the day I gave birth. He brought his mistress to scope out the hospital. 2 weeks, Mike. Find me everything." What Mike found would bring a billionaire to his knees. Magdalena went home with baby Reese and played the perfect wife. She smiled when Logan came home late, didn't ask questions when he said he had to work weekends, even thanked him when he hired a night nurse, supposedly so Magdalena could rest, but really so he didn't have to hear the baby cry. But at night, after Logan fell asleep, Magdalena worked. Mike's reports came in pieces, each one more devastating than the last. First, Logan had been having an affair with Nicole for 18 months. The affair started 1 month after Magdalena got pregnant. Second, Logan owned a penthouse in Soho that Magdalena didn't know about. He and Nicole spent 3 nights a week there. Third, the night Magdalena went into labor, Logan wasn't in the Bahamas for business. He and Nicole were celebrating their anniversary at a resort. The private investigator had photos of them kissing on the beach. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was what Mike found in Logan's finances. "Magdalena, sit down for this," Mike said during a secret phone call. "Your husband has been hiding money. A lot of money." "How much?" $6 billion. Magdalena almost dropped the phone. "What?" "Shell companies, offshore accounts, real estate in fake names. The prenup says you get $20 million based on his disclosed $8 billion. But his real net worth is $14 billion. He's been hiding this since before you got married. Can we prove it? I have everything. Bank transfers, property deeds, corporate filings. Magdalena, this isn't just divorce fraud. This is tax evasion, securities fraud, lying on federal documents. He could go to prison." Magdalena stared at her sleeping daughter. Reese was 3 weeks old, innocent and perfect. "Good," Magdalena said quietly. "Let's make him pay for every lie." But what happened next made her tremble. Lincoln called her 2 days later, his voice sharp with excitement. "We have him, but there's something else you need to know." "What?" Nicole Horton was stealing from the company. Small amounts at first, then bigger. She's embezzled almost $2 million over 5 years. Does Logan know? That's the interesting part. I think she's been blackmailing him. I found emails, deleted, but recovered, where she threatens to expose the hidden assets to the IRS if he doesn't promote her. Give her access to accounts, let her travel with him. So Nicole was using him? Looks like it. And here's the kicker. Nicole's pregnant. The room spun. What? Found a doctor's appointment in her calendar. She's 3 months along. I think she planned to trap him, Magdalena. Make him leave you, marry her. Get access to the real money. Magdalena laughed. It was a cold, bitter sound. She thinks she's won. They both do. So what do you want to do? I want to watch them both burn. Magdalena waited until everything was perfect. Every document filed. Every asset traced. Every lawyer briefed. Then she invited Logan's mother to visit. Margaret Hartwell was a formidable woman who'd never quite warmed to Magdalena. But she loved Logan fiercely, and she'd been thrilled about the baby. Margaret arrived on a Saturday. Logan was at the office, really the Soho penthouse with Nicole. "Margaret, I need to show you something," Magdalena said. She laid it all out. The affair, the hidden money, the plan to divorce her right after the birth. The photos of Logan and Nicole in the Bahamas while Magdalena was in labor. Margaret's face went from shock to rage to something harder, colder. "That bastard," she whispered. "He's exactly like his father. I'm divorcing him, but I wanted you to hear it from me first. I don't want to keep Reese from you. You're her grandmother. But I need you to know the truth." Margaret squeezed Magdalena's hand. "You take him for everything. Everything. And when you're done, you call me. Because I'll make sure the family board knows exactly what kind of man my son became." When Logan came home that night, both women were waiting. "Mother? What are you doing here?" Margaret stood. "Sit down, Logan. I don't have time for—" "Sit down." Logan sat. Magdalena had never heard that tone from Margaret before. "You're having an affair," Margaret said. Not a question. A statement. Logan's face went pale. "Who told you?" "Your wife, who nearly died giving birth to your daughter while you were on vacation with your whore." "Mother, it's not. There's a prenup, isn't there? Based on $8 billion in assets. Except you actually have $14 billion. You've been hiding money, Logan. Committing fraud. Planning to divorce Magdalena the day she gave birth." Logan looked at Magdalena, and for the first time, she saw real fear in his eyes. "How did you?" "It doesn't matter how I know. What matters is what happens next." Magdalena's voice was steel. "You have a choice. Settle quietly. Give me what I deserve or I go public with everything. The affairs. The fraud. The hidden money. The IRS gets involved. The SEC. The FBI. Your company gets investigated. Your reputation destroyed. You might even go to prison. You can't prove. Magdalena pulled out a folder, dropped it on the table. Photos of him and Nicole spilled out. Bank statements, property deeds, email printouts. I can prove all of it. Logan's hands shook as he looked through the documents. What do you want? Half of everything. The real everything. $7 billion. He laughed. It was a desperate, broken sound. That's insane. Is it? Community property laws say I'm entitled to half of assets acquired during marriage. Most of these hidden accounts grew during our marriage. The prenup is fraudulent because it was based on lies. Lincoln Hayes is my attorney, by the way. He thinks we can get $8 billion once we add punitive damages. $8 billion? You told me you wished you'd never married me, while I was holding our newborn daughter, after I'd nearly died giving birth. $8 billion seems fair. Logan looked at his mother. Are you going to let her do this? Margaret's smile was ice. I'm going to help her do this. You disgust me, Logan. You've become your father. Logan flinched like he'd been slapped. The papers will be served Monday, Magdalena continued. You have until then to decide. Settle or fight and lose everything. Oh, and Logan, pack a bag. You're not staying here tonight. This is my house. Actually, Lincoln's voice came from the doorway. They all turned to see the lawyer standing there, briefcase in hand. According to the deed, this house was purchased with joint funds during the marriage. Mrs. Hartwell has every right to ask you to leave. If you refuse, I'll call the police and get a restraining order based on threatening behavior. I haven't threatened anyone. You told your wife you wished you'd never married her hours after she gave birth. A good judge would call that emotional abuse. Pack your bags, Mr. Hartwell. Logan tried to fight. Of course he did. He hired 3 law firms, filed countersuits, tried to freeze bank accounts, threatened to take Reese away. Every move he made, Lincoln had a countermove ready. But then Nicole made her play. She showed up at Magdalena's door 3 weeks into the legal battle, designer sunglasses hiding red eyes. Can we talk? Why would I talk to you? Because I have information you need. Magdalena let her in. They sat in the living room where Logan had once told Magdalena he loved her. I'm pregnant, Nicole said. It's Logan's. I know. Nicole's head snapped up. You know? I know everything, Nicole. I know about the embezzlement, the blackmail, the plan to trap him. Nicole's composure cracked. He promised me everything. He said after the baby was born, he'd divorce you, marry me, we'd have it all. And you believed him? I loved him. Nicole's voice broke. I gave him 5 years. I helped him hide money. I covered for him. And you know what he told me yesterday? He said I was a mistake. That he's fighting the divorce to get back to you. Magdalena laughed. He said that. He wants his family back. He called me a temporary lapse in judgment. He offered me $2 million to get an abortion and disappear. Magdalena studied the woman who'd helped destroy her marriage. She should hate her. She did hate her. But in that moment, she also saw what she could have become. A woman used and discarded by Logan Hartwell. What do you want, Nicole? I want revenge. And I want you to destroy him. I'm already destroying him. Not enough. Nicole pulled out a USB drive. This has everything. Emails about the hidden accounts. Text messages about the divorce plan. Audio recordings of him bribing government officials. Tax documents he falsified. Everything. Why would you give me this? Nicole's smile was bitter. Because Logan Hartwell took 5 years of my life. He turned me into a criminal. He made me believe I was special. And then he threw me away like garbage. So yes, Mrs. Hartwell, take him for everything. And when you're done, I'll make sure the FBI knows about the bribery. She stood to leave, then paused. For what it's worth. I'm sorry. About the affair. About the things I said about you. You deserved better. So did you? Magdalena said quietly. But that doesn't excuse what we did. I know. Nicole touched her stomach. I'm keeping the baby. And I'm going to teach her to never trust a man like Logan Hartwell. After Nicole left, Magdalena called Lincoln. We just got everything we need. And Lincoln, go for the throat. The final blow came from an unexpected source. Logan's mother, Margaret, called an emergency board meeting of Hartwell Industries. As the largest individual shareholder after Logan, she had that power. She presented evidence of Logan's hidden assets, his fraud, his embezzlement through Nicole. The board was furious. Investors were furious. The SEC launched an investigation. Within 24 hours, the board voted to remove Logan as CEO. He called Magdalena, desperate. Stop this, please. I'll give you whatever you want. $8 billion. Full custody of Reese. You see her twice a month, supervised. And you resign from your company. That company is my life. Should have thought of that before you whispered those words to me. Magdalena, please. Do we have a deal or not? Silence. Then, yes. 6 months after Magdalena gave birth, the divorce was finalized. She got $7.8 billion. The penthouse. Full custody of Reese. Logan's company removed his name from the building. Nicole had her baby, a girl, and moved to California. The FBI investigation into Logan continued, though he eventually took a plea deal. 5 years probation and a $10 million fine. But Magdalena wasn't done. She thought she'd seen the worst of what Logan could do. She was wrong. With her settlement, Magdalena did something Logan never expected. She started buying stock in Hartwell Industries. Quietly at first through shell corporations and investment funds. Within 18 months, she was the third largest shareholder. Then she started calling in favors. She'd helped dozens of executives during her consulting days. Now she asked them to join her new company, Reese Capital, named after her daughter. Within 2 years, Reese Capital was managing $40 billion in assets. They specialized in helping women negotiate fair business deals, protecting their financial interests, and exposing corporate fraud. Every major business publication did profiles on Magdalena, the billionaire who built her empire on ashes. How Magdalena Hartwell turned betrayal into billions. The woman who beat the system. And every single article mentioned that moment in the hospital. Logan's name became synonymous with fraud and betrayal. His reputation never recovered. He tried launching new ventures, but investors wouldn't touch him. The woman he'd betrayed had become more powerful than he'd ever been. 5 years after the divorce, Magdalena stood in Central Park, watching 7-year-old Reese play. "Mommy, push me higher." Reese laughed, fearless and bright. "You're already touching the sky, baby girl," Magdalena said. "Push me to space." Behind her, someone cleared their throat. Magdalena turned to find Logan standing there, looking older and smaller than she remembered. "Can we talk? You have 2 minutes." Logan looked at Reese, and his eyes filled with tears. "She's so big. What do you want, Logan?" "I wanted to say I'm sorry. I've been in therapy for 3 years. I'm trying to understand why I destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me." "Did you figure it out?" "I was terrified. Of being a father. Of not being good enough. Of turning into my dad. So I sabotaged everything before it could fail on its own. I know that doesn't excuse anything." "No, it doesn't. I just needed you to know. What I said in that hospital room, it was the worst thing I've ever done. If I could take it back. But you can't." Magdalena's voice was firm. "That moment showed me exactly who you are. Not the man I married. Not the man who proposed under the stars. The real you. The coward who kicks people when they're down." Logan wiped his eyes. "I know. I hate myself for it." "Good. Because I'm going to make sure everyone knows what you did. Not out of spite, but because women need to know what to look for. The red flags I missed. The lies I believed. I deserve that." "Yes, you do." Magdalena turned back to Reese. "Your time's up. Don't be late for visitation." As Logan walked away, shoulders slumped, Magdalena felt nothing. Not anger. Not satisfaction. Just emptiness where he used to be. She'd won. Completely and totally. But the real victory wasn't the money or the revenge. It was Reese, laughing on the swings, growing up strong and brave and fierce. 9 years after that moment in the hospital, Magdalena stood on stage at the Waldorf Astoria. The Reese Foundation had just been awarded the Humanitarian Achievement Award. Over 12,000 women helped. $50 million donated to shelters and legal funds. Laws changed in 7 states to protect against prenuptial fraud. 9-year-old Reese sat in the front row, wearing the dress she'd designed herself, because Magdalena had taught her that women could do anything. 9 years ago, Magdalena began. Someone told me I was worthless. He said it at my lowest moment, when I was vulnerable and exhausted and needed him most. And I had a choice. Believe him or prove him wrong. I chose to prove him wrong. Not just for me, for my daughter, for every woman who's been told she's not enough. This foundation exists because I refused to stay broken, because I took my pain and turned it into power, because I decided that no one gets to define my worth except me. To every woman watching, you are stronger than you know. You deserve more than you're being offered. And if someone tries to tear you down, you rise higher than they ever could. Thank you. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. Reese ran onto stage and hugged her mother. I'm so proud of you, Mommy, she whispered. I'm proud of you too, baby. You're my whole world. In the back of the ballroom, unnoticed, Logan watched. He'd come because he still followed her career, still read every article, still hoped, foolishly, that maybe one day, but watching her shine, powerful, confident, surrounded by people who loved her, Logan finally understood. He hadn't just lost a wife. He'd lost his soulmate, his partner, his chance at real happiness. And Magdalena? She'd taken everything he destroyed and built something extraordinary. As the applause continued, Logan turned and left. And Magdalena never noticed, because she'd long ago stopped looking back. She'd won. Completely, totally, forever. And it all started with 5 words whispered in a hospital room. 5 words that Logan thought would break her. 5 words that instead forged her into steel. I wish I never married you. Magdalena smiled, because she'd learned the truth. Logan's biggest mistake wasn't the affair, or the lies, or even those cruel words. His biggest mistake was thinking she needed him. She never did. And now the whole world knew it. If the story gave you chills, smash that like button. Drop a comment telling me, what would you have done in Magdalena's position? Would you have taken the settlement or gone even harder? And if you believe in women who refuse to stay down, share this video with someone who needs to hear this story today. Subscribe for more incredible tales of revenge, justice, and triumph. I'll see you in the next one.